Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are well. Thank you for joining us as we continue our Odyssey and journey in Orchot Tzaddikim, the way of righteous people. Today's learning is dedicated in memory of Leah Bas Bible, Tzivia Bas Mordechai, Avram ben David Slavin, Shlom ben Yisrael Morris, Eliezer Shalom ben Avram Shmuel Beret, Tzipora Feikel Bas Reuven Baruch, Shalom ben Eli ben Bas Bible, from Shoshana Bas Yaakov Shmuel, Sarah Mocha Bas Ben Yomin, Yirmiyahu Yechiel ben Achav and Moshe Eliezer, as well as the yortzites for today, which are Yitzchak David ben Yoshua Mendel Cohen, Shmuel ben Yehuda Aryeh, Caleb bas Shlomo Fox, Moshe ben David, Shoshana bas Yitzchak Seligman, Sarah bas Avrom. We wish each and every one of their respective families long life. So, I want to continue, pick up where we left off yesterday. Lovely to see everyone joining us. Good afternoon, Carol, Peter, and Rachel, and anyone else who is here but not commenting yet. So, we're discussing about pride, yeah? The fact that gaiva, pride, haughtiness is something that is abhorrent, and we are meant to avoid it. So there's the joke that Israel, good morning, afternoon, Mervyn. So there is the joke about Israel decided to launch its own space rocket, and they decided to fundraise for it, and they created this phenomenal space rocket, and they were about to launch it. Everything was ready. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff, and the rocket could not get off the ground. And the scientists are scratching their head, and then they realize that despite the tremendous power that they had, the reason why it couldn't get off the ground with all their fundraising efforts was because they had so many plaques from the donations attached to the wings. So clearly, fundraising is a big question, right? How can we allow people to put plaques, to put signs, to publicize their donations and their giving, if we are saying that would seem to suggest pride? Isn't pride something that we run away from? And the answer is that, simply speaking, we should not be looking and seeking recognition. The reason why we would allow somebody to put a plaque, and sometimes we would encourage major donors to give plaques, because it encourages others to make the same efforts and to contribute. If you see that everyone, wherever you turn, everyone seems to be giving. I don't know if you've seen these match fund campaigns that they have on YouTube and online. Many of the Orthodox charities have used it to tremendous effect. And basically, they set themselves a deadline, let's say 24 hours, 36 hours, right? And you know, they want to raise £3 million. Okay. All of a sudden, when you see online that other people, everyone seems to be giving and the amounts are going up, all of a sudden you get carried away and you also decide that you're going to give. And sometimes you give much more than you'd intended. And the reason being is simply because you saw and were encouraged by other people that were giving as well. Okay. So then it would be justified, and that would not be an act of pride in being prepared to go public with your donation. I'm just going to bend it down because we haven't got the charger plugged in and I'm about to run out of battery. Okay, so bear with me 1 second. Okay, let's see if this is better. Apologies about that. Okay, there we go. Now I can see you much better. Okay, so that generally is the only instance, one of the only instances where we would say, no, that's not a matter of pride. That's a matter of encouraging others to give to worthy causes. Okay, so the evil inclination, that negative side, the dark side of us, right, tries to tempt us to do the wrong thing. Okay, if he doesn't, then he's not doing his job. And then we would be perfect for the whole of the year. There wouldn't be any point to Yom Kippur. Okay, so unlike angels, it's a given that we're all going to go up and down. One of the areas that it tries to tempt us is when it comes to the area of pride. And I'm going to explain how. As good afternoon, those that are joining us, Estelle and Colin. Just a reminder that at 12:15 sharp, we switch to Zoom, and today there is a communal quiz. Yes, a quiz. We're having the schmooze at 12:15. Some wonderful questions that we put together, and we look forward to sharing sharing the questions with you then. The evil inclination will tempt you to reveal your saintliness and good deeds before the populace with a rationalization that in doing so you may cause them to emulate your deeds. This too proceeds from pride. So he says that generally speaking, if you are to publicize your accomplishments, your mitzvot, your good deeds, it comes from a place of pride. We just explained the exception to that. Though we do find instances of great men praising themselves, they did so only before their students and colleagues, so that they would follow in their ways and emulate their deeds, as I explained. This is certainly a mitzvah to cause good deeds to be beloved by men. So I'll tell you another instance. I know somebody whose family are exceptionally charitable. Okay, they're not wealthy, but they are very charitable. And I asked him once, how is it that your family seems to have a culture, a psyche, a philosophy of giving which outstrips many, many wealthy people? And he explained to me that it goes back to my childhood. When I was a kid, he said, in Glasgow, we were once visited by the Ponevezher Rav, great Rosh Yeshiva, dean of a great Talmudical academy, rebuilt from the ashes of the Holocaust in Bnei Brak. And he said, he came, and I remember my father calling us children in. And as he was writing the check to the Rosh Yeshiva, to the dean of the academy, he showed us the check and showed with a great smile the act of passing that check over to the yeshiva. And that was something that happened time and again. And therefore, this is the exact point that we want to bring out, that although we want to we don't want to shout from the rooftops about our accomplishments. We are modest, not just in our dress, but in our actions. It's between us and God how we behave. But on occasion, where you are trying to instruct your students, your children, your family about the correct way to behave, so it's important that they do know, right? And actions speak louder than words. So if they see us make a donation, if they see us do a mitzvah, they are likely to follow suit. Okay? It is no coincidence to me that when we look at our children, very often, if a father is an ardent football fan, that the kids are going to follow in their parents' or father's footsteps. Okay? So therefore, if we are passionate about giving, and our kids have seen that excitement and passion about giving, they are likely to also become givers. Okay, so that would be an instance where it would be justified, and that would not be an act of pride in demonstrating and publicizing our good deeds. However, that is the exception, friends, and generally speaking, therefore, we should not do so. It's enough that God knows it's between us and God how we behave. Okay, and therefore it's good that we should try to keep some things between us and him. We don't need the whole world to know and to shout from the rooftops about what we are doing, we are giving, we're not doing, right? We don't need to let everyone know. We live in a world where the psyche, I remember entering the world of Facebook a few months ago because of COVID. I was forced to enter it, and I was shocked. I'm still shocked by, even some colleagues of mine. Everything and anything has to be shared on Facebook, right? They leave nothing is left to the imagination, and everything that they are doing, they have to take photos of, and they have to show everyone, look what I'm doing. That's not a Jewish trait, right? There can be occasions where it is necessary, as we've already outlined, to share with people so that they will be inspired to follow suit. But generally speaking, we want to keep things close to our chest. It's like, Ray Burns was a member of the community. Some of you may remember him. And he was somebody who in his own quiet way went around and made sure that envelopes were put through people's doors. I think very often much of what we do, right, only becomes known. And I've heard many stories at Shivers. I have sadly a nephew of ours passed away a couple of years ago, and I remember at the Shiver, just work colleagues coming up and a secretary and letters being shared about flowers being sent, support, you know, giving to people in all different ways, and none of it was his wife was aware of. All of it was done on the quiet. That's between us and God. We don't need to to brag about what we do in life, right? That's not why we do it. We do it for the right intentions, and that is between us and our Creator. Okay. Now, that's not to say, and what he goes on to say at Garrett, and this is the final point we're going to make, and that is that doesn't mean that we should, we have to, as it were, curtail our good deeds in order that people don't see it. In other words, right, I'm going to do an extra fast Amida, right? I'm going to pray very quickly because I don't want people to think that, because I don't want people to think that I'm trying to show off, or I'm not going to do this mitzvah properly, or I'm going to be a covert Jew. Quite the opposite. A mezuzah, and when we pray, and the way we behave, right? We should do so. We should do everything to our best of our abilities. It doesn't mean that we've got to cover up our Jewishness and our Jewish practice. It does mean that we don't have to shout about it and push it in everyone's faces by taking photos and putting it all over Facebook. Okay, so we're going to stop there because there are people waiting in my waiting room. Okay, because they are waiting for us to start the next program, back-to-back programs today. So we are going to carry on very quickly with, if I can find it, and there will be, please God, programs for us to pray for Dino and Troy and Rav Lord Sachs, and you'll know about it, no doubt, in due course. A song of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even when I walk in the valley of darkness, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. Memorial prayer. And I lost one of my sheets. What happened there? Adon Olamim Zachoes Nishmois Yitzchak David ben Yeshua Mendel Cohen Shmuel ben Yehuda Aryeh Kala ben Bas Shlomo Fox Moshe ben David Shoshana bas Yitzchak Seligman Sarah bas Avrom Yilea bas Fivo Tzivi bas Mordechai Avram ben David Slavin Shlomo ben Yisrael Morris Eliezer Shalom ben Avram Shmuel Beretz Berefegel bas Ruben Baruch Shalom ben Elieli Beina bas Fivo from Shoshana bas Yaakov Shmuel Sarah Malka bas Ben Yamin Yirmiyahu Yechiel ben Achav Moshe Eliezer Shal Chuli Olamam Vegan Aiden Taimanu Chosam Lachim Belarachamim Yasivei Beseisa Kanafabin Elamim Veyetzov Betzachai Teshvazam Adonai Nachlasam Veyanuchu B'Shlomish Kavam Venomar Amen. Long life to all those that have your site today. Lastly, Refuah Shalem, a prayer, and of course we have in mind all those that have COVID, as well as in particular that are based in Diner and Troy, and Rav Lord Sachs, our Chief Rabbi Emeritus. מי שברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב משה אהרון דוד שלמה ויברך רפא אסכילם בראש אנו מתפללים בעבורם בזכות הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחם עליהם מלאכתם לפרוסם וישלח להם רפואה שלמה לשמיים לכל ימים בסוף שחל ישראל רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף השבת זמן קרב ונאמר amen. We're about to switch to the new program, which is the Shmooze, half an hour over your lunch, and you can do a quiz at the same time with me. The Zoom code is 661-975-7371. It's my code, 661-975-7371. Look forward to seeing you in 1 minute. Take care. All the best.